Hello everyone, and I'm back once more playing Battlefield 2 once again, but this time I'm playing a map that I haven't technically done a video on. I mean, I guess that's been most videos that I've done on this game. But I did technically play this map in the past. My What's Next video, which was my second video back from hiatus, did include some footage of me playing this map online, but I do have a huge soft spot for this map, and I just wanted to actually get some gameplay of it. Plus, I decided I'd actually try something different instead of it being infantry heavy. I mean, it still kind of was infantry heavy because it's a 16-player map, so things are a lot smaller for obvious reasons, but I thought I would actually try the sniper class because I've sort of neglected that in this game, along with vehicular combat for the most part, really. I mean, my small scale vehicular combat video did have some of that, but again, 16 size player maps make it a little bit more difficult. But for a lot of my Battlefield 2 videos, it's more about just gauging what are the best maps to do videos on and to kind of ramble about and have interesting gameplay coming out from, and this map was pretty good with that. And again, as I stated earlier, I do have a soft spot for this map. I love the environmental detail on this map. I think there's a lot of interesting things going on here, and I think a lot of the maps that are based in China are just really interesting, but I just hadn't really given them much love compared to some of the more Middle Eastern centric maps. Of course, the Chinese faction have got very different weapons and very interesting weapons too in the game compared to the Middle Eastern coalition, so I don't know, I just thought I'd just play the game and just go from there, really. It's been a weird one. My Battlefield 2 install was glitching out for a while there. When I tried to do my Battlefield 2 Arctic Warfare mod showcase video on this very PC, I had texture glitching issues, and then when I went to load up Battlefield 2, I had texture glitch issues. But then when I reloaded this game earlier this afternoon, I reset the the settings were reset to 800 by 600, which looks awful, so I had to update them to 1080p and max settings, and it didn't do the 1080p fix for some reason, so I did that again, and now things are seemingly fine. I don't know, it's a weird one. Battlefield 2 and the refractor engine, as I've stated a couple times now, tends to be a very fickle engine to work on. I mean, I very vividly remember working on a mini mod or a personal mod back in the day and learning Python, learning little bits of Python, and finding out that, yeah, you do one thing wrong or one thing very slightly wrong, it's not immediately obvious. Sometimes the game will just simply crash without telling you, and it happens with mods as well. I mean, there's quite a lot of mods that if you don't load up, like, if you load up certain maps, the game will just crash for no obvious reason. And I think a good example of that was the Battlefield 2 Australian Forces mod had like a special like buffer thing for ZR wetlands in 64 player, because the game would crash if you picked that thing below it that started with Z. I can't remember what it was, but the game wouldn't show ZR Wetland 64 properly for some reason. I'm not 100% sure why it's in that case. I'm presuming it's something to do with the refractor engine, but nonetheless, it's, you know, just a bit of good old bizarre old refractor engine Python coding and whatnot. But yeah, I am feeling a lot better, thankfully, after the last week or so. I did get struck down with an illness, another cold. I've been sick a bit actually lately. It might be from stress, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, as I stated in one of my last two videos, my new job has been pretty stressful. I mean, I've gone from a retail environment that I'm relatively comfortable in and know everything into another one which is owned by the same group but is doing things completely differently and very archaic, and it's left me very confused because for me, I'm a chatterbox. These videos are a very obvious indicator of that. I remember one of my old jobs a couple of years back, I thought I kind of lived under the impression that I was somewhat reserved and somewhat quiet, but I should have recognized that my videos were anything but that. But I thought my videos were also me putting on a little bit of an edgy act or something like that. I mean, to be fair, I guess some of my videos in my teenage years were kind of like that, trying to be, you know, a voice critical type. But I remember one of my mates, I told him that I genuinely thought that I felt like that because I'm, you know, otherwise, if I'm not really with people, I tend to be quite reserved and quite to myself and kind of introspective to some degree, maybe. And the dude burst out laughing. And from that point onwards, my perspective on things kind of changed a little bit. Otherwise, yeah, kind of like the perspective on this game when I realized I could update it from 1.01 to 1.50, really, you know, completely different. Yeah, I mean, I still had a blast playing through this game again. I mean, it's just fun to record footage for this game as well. It's just one thing I find very easy with this game. I mean, playing it on PC, I guess, helps to an extent because, you know, don't have to do a lot. You don't have to time when you, excuse me, you don't have to time when you have to like end the recording or something like that. Because with some of the Xbox footage I've done in the last month and a half, it's, you know, making sure that, you know, in Forza Horizon 6 a race finishes in time and stuff like that. Or if it doesn't, make sure you can record the last minute at the very least and then kind of link the two together from there, which is something that I've done going back a decade plus with the Xbox DVR. But with PC, it's just, you know, you just record it as it is. I kind of feel like I should be recording my videos with live commentary instead of just doing it pre-recorded afterwards, because I feel like that would be something that I don't know, I just feel like a more natural version of me would come out in these videos. And with that being said though, a part of this comeback has been to be a bit more natural and a bit more cozy. And again, reflecting on the sort of coziness, I do love the autumn aesthetic of this map. Yeah, again, that's just something I really love about the Chinese maps is that, again, they're based around, forests and, plains and places with trees, whereas deserts have never really been a thing of mine. Like, in terms of aesthetics, I've always been more of a cozy winter, autumn person over a summer person, which is a tad ironic given I live in Australia, but hey, it is what it is really, isn't it? And again, playing this map brought back a childhood memory of mine when I remember when I was living up in country Victoria for about 15 months, and I remember I'd play this game a lot as a means of escapism. I think I've discussed this in previous videos, but I also played Battlefield 2142 as a means of escapism because of, a rough time up there personally. And I remember dicking around with this vehicle as, I probably get shot. I think that's the first time I've ever had that happen to me personally, but anyway. I think it might have been this version of it or the 32-player version of it, but I remember there was like this really steep... Maybe I'm misremembering it with something else, but I just remember this map, a really steep area where you could just drive a vehicle really fast, and then you could just... Maybe it's somewhere, maybe it's Fushi Pass or something. Anyway, I just remember it was in one of these themed maps, and you could just drive around and just kind of avoid enemies. Well, I made it a challenge to avoid a lot of these enemies, and then just drove around. And then I had to go out for dinner with my grandparents because they were in town, because when we moved out, everyone was like a good 2 to 3 hours away from us, so that was that whole thing. But again, I look back on that period of my life very fondly now as a 27-year-old versus at the time when I was 10. A lot of things changed between those 17 years, but I guess Battlefield 2 is forever, really. The game hasn't really changed that much. It's just how I play it, really. I mean, back then I played it on my dad's gaming, quote-unquote gaming PC, which we still have, actually. I should probably bring that out and see if I can get that working at some point. Although, that being said, it's been in the shed for the better half of 10 years now, so it's going to be an uphill battle if it even works. But if it does work somehow, it will bring back absolute shitload of memories, because there's a lot of old things on there. I think there's even like old iTunes iPod backups and old photos from back in the day when we used that thing quite a bit, among a Battlefield 2 install and some things, because I remember we had Battlefield 2 installed on there, and I uninstalled it and reinstalled it, because that PC back in the day, like Windows XP 32-bit, only had like 128 gig max for hard drive, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember talking to my dad about it and being like, oh, this computer has a 320 gig hard drive, why is it not showing that? And then finding out that, oh, there's this unreserved allocation, and I was able to add like an extra like 200 gigs, and that was such a revelation for me, because that came at the same time that I got updates for this game and started getting mods for this game, so I suddenly had all this extra storage to play with. And there's the AI doing AI things. I guess that's what happens when you have the 32 AI on such a small map. They just tend to do weird things. But yeah, it was such a revelation, and it was just funny just thinking back on that. And again, this map leading me back to all those memories. So again, I wish I had something interesting to say about this map and this game again, but I guess it's just nostalgia fodder at this point. So I probably won't be doing another video on this game for a little while. Or, maybe I might lie and I might find something else interesting to talk about this game. But we'll see what ends up happening. As has happened so many times in the past now, as I get team killed again. My interest in this game on YouTube ebbs and flows quite heavily. I'll come back to it probably soon enough. That being said, it has been almost 2 months since I started doing videos on this game, and that became kind of the core focus of the comeback, quote unquote, even though no one's watching these bloody videos at this point in time, because the YouTube algorithm gives and taketh, because I still don't fully know how my 2142 video did so well. Neither did my More Chaos Battlefield 2 video. I thought that was really weird how they all kind of... Jeez, I'm surprised I didn't get hit with that there. But it's more one of those things. I was just surprised that it just took off the way that it did, and it kind of revived my YouTube channel back to what it was, the subscriber count was before I stopped doing videos. But strange things often can and will happen, and truth is stranger than fiction in most parts, especially this day and age. So yeah, I mean, I really don't have a lot else to say. The map is about to finish up. The one thing I kind of struggle with these games, I remember I used to be able to do this a lot when I was younger. I guess I didn't have the bot count at 32 on each team, which just made things a lot more harder. I had them at 8v8, because that was just how the game was, and I didn't know how to mod it. But it was a lot easier to be able to capture all the flag points and then be able to get the enemy to just not spawn and then win the game by default. but I've not had that once. I've always done these maps with the vision of I could go really far into the and capture all the points, or eventually just slowly push along, like I did with some 2142 videos. But that never quite came to fruition, and it seems to be the same case here, as my cat decides that he wants to leave just as I'm recording the video. Won't be long, bud. Anyway, on that note, yeah, the sniping class is fun in this game. I mean, I remember as a kid enjoying the SVD more than the M24 because it was a semi-automatic sniper, so it kind of just rewarded, you know, spamming shots, whereas with the M24 and the L96, you had to be a lot more methodical with your shots, you had to lead with your shots more. You combine that with the Battlefield 2 kind of recoil system, just made sniping a lot more difficult unless you were really like entrenched somewhere and you were in an area that was tricky for people to sort of hit you with. But yeah, that basically wraps that up, guys. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and I guess do whatever, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.